I'm not much of a cake guy, but this cake is a belter. It is a blood orange and Negroni cake. Blood oranges this time of year. The smell is unbelievable. They look delicious, and you're gonna have a cake that is gonna stun everyone when you make it. All right, you ready? So, okay, first of all, I've got a 25 centimetre cake tin. It is one of those fancy springform guys. And I'm going to show you the best way to line a cake tin, right? So these springform ones, obviously the bottom pops out. So what to do is get the bottom, get a piece of greaseproof paper like that, tuck it round, and then pop it in like that, and then close it. See, it's a bit ruffled down the bottom, but you can actually get your extra paper and just pull it nice and tight. I'm gonna trim off any extra. Got a pair of scissors. Oh, haircut. I was a bit over generous with that. I've actually sprayed the inside of the mold, and then I've got a little, they call this a collar, and we're just gonna put around the edge before we start. So is this ready to go? And because I've sprayed the inside with oil, it sticks to the inside of the mold. How clever is that? Okay, now our cake tin is ready to go. Set that to the side. Get yourself a medium saucepan, heavy base, and we're gonna make Negroni, right? Who doesn't love a Negroni? I'm not bothered what time it is. Negroni, just for everyone, is equal parts Campari, vermouth, and gin. Is this too big?
As long as it's equal parts.
Equal parts. Anyway, Negroni is like super Italian, and it's delicious, and we love it. The blood orange and Campari, obviously, best maize. So into our pan, we're gonna make Negroni, but Campari heavy. So I've got 200 mils of Campari, so it's double the amount of everything else. 100 of gin and 100 of vermouth. And because I am so organized, I've already juiced some blood oranges. I've strained the pulp out of it. We want a really nice, smooth, silky syrup. And then we're gonna get this on the stove with 300 grams of sugar. So I'm using raw caster sugar. If you can't find raw caster sugar, you can use normal raw sugar. And if you can't find raw sugar, just use caster sugar. If you can't find caster sugar, where are you? Seriously. So that's on the stove, and that's gonna boil. What we're gonna do now is grab a blood orange. Now, the darker the blood orange, usually the more bloody it will be. So grab yourself a sort of nice dark one. Let's cut into it and see if my theory is correct. Yes, it is. So what we wanna do is cut this thinly. It's not mental thin. If it's too thin, because this is gonna go at the bottom of our cake tin, it'll just disintegrate and it'll be no use. So that'll do. We'll set that to the side for the moment. The rest of them, obviously, we're gonna now, not obviously, you don't know yet what we're gonna do, but we are gonna zest all of our blood oranges before you juice them, okay? The zest of blood orange is amazing. And it is gonna be, honestly, the underlying lifeline. Really, other than the slices of blood oranges that are down the bottom, the zest is actually the only blood orange that's in the cake itself. So it's really important to get as much of the zest off as you can before you juice them. Okay, zest, done. So as our syrup comes up to the boil, what we're gonna do is poach these slices, or candy, if you like, these slices of blood orange. What you have, essentially, is like a Negroni syrup, really. Delicious. Ready for these. So I'm gonna pop these guys in. And these are gonna take about 4 to 5 minutes. So watch out for your syrup, other top tip. As the syrup sort of caramelizes and starts to come together, you'll see it foam up and it will just overflow all over your stove. So keep an eye on that. The second thing we're looking for here is, you can see the white stuff that is coming up. That is all the impurities out of the skin of the oranges. We want to skim that off. Just use a spoon and get rid of it as you go along. Let's make the cake. We've got sugar and butter. Butter in first to our pan, and sugar, And then we're gonna melt this. We kind of want to bring the butter and the sugar together. And what it'll do is actually emulsify completely and come together. And that's the first part, and it's a really important part. Normally in a cake, you would cream butter and sugar together and whip it so it's got loads of air in it. With this, because it's got semolina in it, which is heavy, if you whip it and it has too much air in it, it'll sink halfway through cooking. A little bit of sinking is nice. A massive skateboard ramp, not so good. So I'm just gonna set this down the back. Yeah. When you're melting butter and sugar, obviously the butter always goes in first because otherwise the sugar will burn in the bottom of the pan. Okay, I'm now gonna switch to a whisk. The purpose of this is really just to start melting the sugar. It's almost like you're making a butterscotch sauce really, without the cream. Once this starts to boil rapidly, we're gonna whisk it and it will emulsify all by itself. So as it happens now, you can see it boiling. That's the point we take it off the stove into a bowl. Use a spatula, make sure you get it all out. And then we're gonna whisk it, and you'll see very quickly that it emulsifies completely. Back to our blood oranges. These have had, I reckon, about 4 minutes. I'm gonna now take these off. So just really carefully, use the fork, give it a little shake, and take them off. How beautiful do they look? It is one of those recipes that will make your house smell amazing. Awesome. So now this syrup needs to reduce by half. Back to our cake. So we've now got this emulsified sugar ready for our eggs. I'm gonna crack 3 eggs in here to this very hot mix, one at a time. Whisk it in. 2, 3. Okay, now we're gonna add yogurt, 200 grams. We're gonna give that a whisk in. Got one eye on my syrup. Gentle as she goes with syrup. Once it starts rising up, turn your heat down and just let it simmer for a little bit. So now we're gonna add the bulk of the ingredients. We've got some super fine semolina. Make sure you get the fine semolina, that's important. We've got some plain white flour, and I've got some ground almonds, and I've got some cream of tartar, and I've got some bicarb soda. I've got some salt, and I've got the orange peel. Orange zest. Zest. How good does it smell already? And now, it's as simple as this, just whisk it together. So I'm trying not to get loads of air in this. This is probably, we don't want a super light cake batter. Otherwise we're gonna have a deflated cake. So just make sure that all of those dry ingredients are incorporated beautifully, and we're good to go. Now, we're gonna make the base. I'm gonna get one nice beauty in the middle of the cake. And then I'm gonna go around with the rest of the slices, all the way around. And really, we just wanna cover the entire bottom of our cake tin. So all we gotta do now is pour the cake batter into a waiting tin of delicious blood oranges. And look at all that blood orange zest. That is Flavor Town. Should be about 1 centimetre underneath your cake tin, which is about perfect. It's going to rise about 1 centimetre, so it should be round about level with the top of the tin. The collar's there just to make sure that it doesn't stick and that it doesn't overflow out of your pan, because that would be a disaster. We're going to pop it in the oven, 160 degrees for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Syrup. We want the syrup to reduce by half, and then all we've got to do is sit back, have a couple of Negronis, and wait for the cake to cook. Whoa, yeah. So, cake's out of the oven. It smells unbelievable. That blood orange zest is key. It needs to cool. As much as you want to tear into this straight away, it has to just rest. It's going to take a couple hours to cool down. I'm going to leave it there. Have a few more. Oh, I don't need any more Negronis. I'm going to have a few more Negronis. And once that's cool, I'm going to show you how to finish this cake and make it the centerpiece of any table. How good does the cake look? I've put it on a little cake stand guy. What I want to do now is grab a skewer, and with the blunt end of the skewer, I'm just going to poke loads of holes all the way around the cake. It seems not right, but believe me, it's so right, it's not funny. And I'll show you why. Because a few holes first, now we're going to go on with the syrup. Now this cake comes to life. Again, we're just going to go to the edges with the syrup before I start giving it yet another skewering. Is that what we call it? What do you call it? Stabbing? Skewering?
Stab, jab.
Stab sounds a bit angry, bit vicious, doesn't it? Or something.
There it is.
Prick. I'm pricking the cake. No, so when you prick while you've got the syrup in there, you prick. When you stab it when the syrup's in there, it actually forces the syrup to go down because that's going to make our cake super delicious. While I'm smelling all of the aromas in this cake, it's like an adult's marmalade cake. Like this is the cake that Paddington Bear would have when he grew up, right? So now we're just going to leave that. I've given it a right good stabbing, and we're just going to let that soak into our cake. It'll take about 20 minutes. There it is, my Blood Orange Negroni Cake, and I guarantee you, not only is it easy to make, you can do this at home, but it will be the center of attention anywhere you take it or anytime you make it. Thanks for watching, and if you liked that, please click subscribe because there's plenty more where that came from. Also, if there's a recipe that you actually want to see me make, chuck it in the comments below and we'll get around to it. Thanks for watching.